Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And you're listening to It Takes Two, the podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. In this round of Valentine's special, we've got Maid of Honor from 2008 and My Best Friend's Wedding from 1997.
Yep, these are two movies where supposedly platonic best friends of opposite genders or different genders have known each other for like 10-ish years, and then one of them is going to get married and the other one suddenly decides they're in love with them after not being in love with them for 10 years, and they, as soon as someone else is going to marry them, then it's a problem.
Yep.
And they both have to come up with like plans to break up the wedding.
Yeah.
Also, they're both like really quick weddings. Because like in one, she's like, I just met this guy, we're getting married in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the other one, he's like, you don't know how long they've known each other necessarily, but he calls and is like, hey, I haven't spoken to you in a couple of months. I met someone, we're getting married in 4 days.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
You've seen The Graduate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which like started this, like, was probably the most famous for this like whole trope of ruining somebody else's marriage for your own self-importance.
I think My Best Friend's Wedding is pretty famous for it.
Yeah. Not the most untoxic thing to do.
Yeah, they're pretty horrible people in these movies.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, just wow. Like, putting these back to back and then comparing them, like, what a horrible shit thing to do to somebody. Like, they're supposed to be your best friend, and they're like, no, they're not allowed to be happy. I'm decided that I'm the right person for them, so I have to destroy their life, embarrass them in front of their entire family, possibly ruin the entire life of a person I've never met before.
Yeah.
And because I've decided that after waiting 10 plus years that I'm the right person.
Also,
it's so main character energy.
Yeah, in both movies, it's heavily implied that the person getting married did harbor feelings for the other person for years that were not returned.
Yeah.
And then moved on, and only when they move on, that person's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be obsessed with me.
Yeah, there's a lot of this in that modern era of people I've met and stories we've all heard, and maybe you'd be the victim of it, but like, there's always that, friend-zoned guy thing that is prolific, because a lot of people always mention the story of the guy who's always friend-zoned, and then the woman will ruin the relationships the guy gets into because he's like her backup and stuff. And it feels like that's just such a toxic thing to do to someone who's your friend.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Those people are not friends.
Yeah.
Does that exist, though, or is that like a male fantasy? Because I only hear men talk about this in theory.
No, I've met women who've done that to people.
That's horrible.
Yeah. I won't mention their name. Actually, I haven't seen them in years.
Because here's a newsflash for everyone. The friend zone does not exist.
No.
You're either friends or you're not friends.
Yeah.
If you're genuinely friends, then you're friends. The concept of the friend zone comes up either with what you're describing, where someone is being shitty and, tugging someone along so they have a backup option. Or on the flip side, where someone is only pretending to be someone's friend so that they can get something out of it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that describes both sides.
Yeah.
It's not a real thing. In either case, that person is not a friend. The one who's, like, only trying to get something out of the thing. That's not what friendship is. Those people need to actually make friends and realize what friendship is. Also, I will say, I enjoy My Best Friend's Wedding as a movie. It's something that I watched it with my mom a few times when I was young. And, like, as a concept, as a film, I enjoy watching it. I wouldn't want to be in any of the situations. They're all terrible. But also, like, it bugs me how both these movies really hammer down on that trope of, like, men and women can't be friends.
Yeah.
Because that's also bullshit. Like that's just some nonsense that people made up. That's the number one reason, because I do like romantic comedies.
Yeah.
But I have not ever watched When Harry Met Sally, because I know it's like the main kind of originator of that trope. And I don't want to. It just the thought of it annoys me so much that I don't want to watch that movie.
Yeah, both of these movies start off pretty much the same way you described, like, long time contact. Like, I think Maid of Honor is more screwed up, in my opinion.
Okay. Because of the ending or because of other things?
Probably because of the ending.
Yeah. So spoiler alert for these movies.
Yeah,
guys.
like, you've had enough time to see them.
The ending of My Best Friend's Wedding is she fucks up, realizes she fucks up, and then her best friend gets married to the woman he's actually in love with.
Yeah.
The ending of Maid of Honor is that he crashes the wedding after being uninvited, essentially, and then she leaves her fiancé at the altar for him.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, everyone's shit here.
Because I think the reason why The Graduate is so famous is because of that ending sequence. And for those who haven't seen it, what happened is that the obviously spoilers, but it is such a famous scene that you've probably seen it at some point in time. Yeah,
even as a GIF.
Yeah. He crashes the wedding, and then she's like, cool, and they run away together, and they get in the back of a bus, and the director didn't say cut.
Yeah.
So they just steer off into space because they've got no direction, they've got no lines, and they're just waiting for the cut to be called. And because of the way they look, which is just what do we do now?
Yeah.
It's so perfect because the way they've edited it and just the fact that they let the camera keep rolling.
Yeah.
And it just highlights this whole trope in a obviously these movies have a happy ending. But you never ever think about, because you're following the main character, right?
Yeah.
And in Maid of Honor it's the male, and My Best Friend Wedding it's the female version of this. So it is 50-50 down the gender line. There's no issue with that.
Yeah.
It's not just a bunch of men ruining other men's lives by stealing their brides, or the other way around, which is probably more realistic in a sort of toxic-y place where you'd let this happen anyway. Just that moment of just we have no idea, and you never see it from the person who's left's point of view.
Yeah.
For obviously spoilers for Maid of Honor, we're going to talk about some characters for a second. So the bride, the husband to be in this,
Colin, played by Kevin McKidd.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was reading it the wrong way, so I was just hesitating for a second. Colin is Scottish. Hannah has been in Scotland because she's an art historian.
She goes on. I saw this movie for the first time as a teenager, I think.
Yeah.
I guess late teens, if you commit 2008, I must have been 19. But watching it now, I was just really interested in what she does as a job.
Yeah.
I was ooh, she works at the Met. And she's doing art restoration, but then she gets to go on an acquisitions trip to Scotland. I was this is really cool. What kind of overarching job title does she have at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City that she gets to be doing the actual conservation and art restoration and the acquisition? That doesn't happen. That's
several different people.
Yeah, she's a one-woman art curatorial team.
Because we've both met people that do each job, and they're not the same person.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not the same person.
And that's a way smaller museum for a way smaller country.
We have both worked in museums.
In GLAM.
In GLAM, the GLAM sector, galleries, libraries, archives, museums. So and I do have qualifications in museums and stuff, and I got to work not in acquisitions, but in I can't think of the word. When you're like accepting it into the collection. Why can't I think of the word for that?
Repatriation?
No, not repatriation. Like the other end. So there's someone who does the acquisition, and then there's someone at the other end who like takes what's been acquired and brings it into the collection, like
and you've got some sort of like, and you can't remember the name of it.
Oh yeah, I literally can't think of the name of it. Why? What? Do you remember what the name of it is?
No, I just find it funny that you're like, I've actually got a qualification in this thing I don't remember.
No, I've got a qualification in general museums practice.
Yeah.
But as part of that, I got to do, I think my brain keeps thinking like receivership, which is definitely not what it's called. That's going to really annoy me, but it's fine anyway. But the point is, like, even the person who goes out and does the acquisition and the person who puts that into the collection are two different people.
Yeah.
Even in smaller museums. I mean, actually, in fairness, I have worked in even smaller museums than that, and there is more of an overlap in jobs because there's less staff.
Yeah.
But at the Met, there certainly would be... The person who's getting sent to Scotland to do acquisitions would not ever be doing the art restoration herself.
Yeah, there's definitely different types of people, because like art restoration, from the stuff that I've seen in person and the things that I've looked at, because for generations, when you're talking about like old paintings and portraits and stuff, they were treated really poorly because people didn't understand, like, probably, you get the idea of significance increasing over time. The popularity of artists increasing over the time. You look at some of those famous painters in the world died penniless, and it's only like generations later where like, oh my god, we've found this like hidden thing that we didn't know belonged to this person, and it was in someone's closet for bloody 100 years, and now it's worth like millions of dollars.
And it's also that even when people were trying to actually protect and conserve and restore paintings over the years, the techniques have changed, and we've gotten better at that, and that means that like sometimes what you're restoring is stuff that's underneath layers of what was used to conserve it, but it was actually damaging it.
It's very interesting to me, because we went and saw the Last Supper, I was going to say fresco. Is that the right word? It's fresco,
It's a fresco.
And it's just so funny that Leonardo da Vinci was so arrogant that they've had to do so much work to keep it, like, because he invented his own technique, which didn't have the longevity of everybody else. It's so fascinating, because there is another painting on the other side of the wall that was done more traditional in the fresco style, and the only part of it that is gone from history because it's completely faded and gone is the part that Leonardo did on the opposite side, because his technique was just so bonkers that it isn't, like, it doesn't work, because he was such a perfectionist. He had to work with like it wet before it was dried, and because of that it's just like completely gone. So like the original thing is no longer there, because this has been restored so many times by people who possibly weren't that well skilled, that you sort of like, the original is now gone, and it's now this hodgepodge of like restoration over the years. And you can find videos of it, of like people peeling off generations of like varnish off paintings to see the original colors under it, because the varnish is basically, because of UV and stuff, it's like changed it all yellow. So a lot of these like very famous paintings of just like the color of them is completely gone. And it's just so fascinating that like it's definitely not the same kind of person who would be over gallivanting around in Europe from the States, like trying to get art to the museum, versus a person who will quite happily sit there for 6 hours non-stop peeling off like 5mm by 5mm squares of like resin varnish that was layered over things, or like gently polishing things with a Q-tip.
Actually, first of all, I want to shout out to any glam sector workers who are sitting at home shouting at the podcast accessioning was the word I was looking for earlier. But you've just given me a memory, which is that one time I got to go with a conservator to receive some art that arrived in the country and bring it from where it arrived from its like first point of contact in the country to the museum it was going to be held in, and it was a conservator who came with me, not a curator. Because I was thinking, like, but I do know, like, from my experience, normally if someone's being sent overseas to do the acquisition process, it's like a senior curator.
Yeah.
Or like an art director. But I can think of an example where, and it was because the reasoning for it was that person, whoever went to receive it, needed to actually check like the condition of the artworks.
Right.
And document the condition of the artworks and do like a whole thing with that when receiving it, and then when it arrived to the destination.
Yeah.
And for that, the conservator was the most qualified to do that. But also, I will specify that was during the height of COVID, when we were minimizing the amount of people going to somewhere.
Yeah.
So that could have impacted that. So maybe normally they would have the curator and the conservator there. But if maybe that's how you get around. I don't know. We're really focusing on this one plot hole in this movie.
Anyway,
maybe she needed to look at the condition of the art.
I was trying to talk about Colin. So Colin is the person that Hannah meets in Scotland.
Yeah, you get to almost see their first meeting.
Yeah, almost.
Because she's on the phone and she's complaining that she's stuck. There's like cows around her car, and then you see someone riding up to her on horseback, just like a shadow of a person through the mist, and then it cuts off.
Yeah.
But you find out later that's how they met.
He's a Scottish duke.
Yeah.
And his family runs the largest distillery in Scotland.
Yeah.
To the point where he is so important to Scotland, apparently, that they have to get like council approval because she's not Scottish.
Yeah.
He is a really nice guy.
Yep.
And not in the nice guy way, but like he's
like genuinely nice guy.
Genuinely nice guy. Obviously, the whole, quite quick wedding, he comes back with her to New York. They meet. He goes through this whole plan. They try and like ruin him by playing basketball at one point. And
he's never played basketball, and then he immediately is perfect at it.
Yeah, because he can dunk, and they can't because the white men can't jump.
He is also a white man.
Yeah, but he's Scottish, so he's doing
the Highland Games.
Yeah, they were doing the Highland Games as part of the wedding ceremony.
I did look that up while we were watching. That is actually quite common in Scottish weddings.
Right, is parking a very expensive car next to the
probably not
Capitos. Also traditional, because
I don't think so.
When as soon as I saw the badges on those vehicles parked directly behind, I was like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he's so accommodating with the fact that he's bringing all these people over. Obviously, it's not realistic in the sense of like, oh, they own 4 homes and they're also getting married in this like church that's in the middle of nowhere, and it's all very picturesque and it's very silly, but it's like also you sort of always get that like both the people they're marrying are sort of like ultra rich.
Yeah, so in My Best Friend's Wedding, Michael is marrying Kimmy, who is a college junior studying architecture, and her father owns the White Sox. And
also a cable network. So he could be Rupert Murdoch.
And in that one, Julia Roberts' character, Julianne, also flies out for the wedding, but instead of flying from New York to Scotland, she's flying from New York to Chicago, which is a significantly shorter flight.
Tom, who is the man in this movie.
He is the maid of honor in Maid of Honor.
Yeah, which I thought was spelled made as in like made, but it's spelled made as in like constructed.
Yeah. So it's a pun.
Yeah, I get
And
it.
and in other languages they've had to just entirely change the title because the pun does not work
Yeah.
in any other language.
He like
Also, he's not maid of honor at all.
No, he is pretty dishonorable.
Yeah.
Both the main characters are in both these movies. The thing I want to point out, both of these relationships and both of these movies have had opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Tom in Maid of Honor has no strong relationship example in his life.
Yeah.
Because his father, at the beginning of the movie, so at the beginning of the movie they met, and then later on, and when you get to the current present day timeline, he is on his 6th wedding.
Yeah.
To the point where you were laughing because they were playing Gold Digger at the wedding.
I thought that was very funny.
And you're like, is this canonically happening?
Yeah, I was like, this isn't just like the soundtrack, they seem to be actually playing it in the wedding.
Yeah, to the point where like they're still arguing about the prenup while she's in the limousine.
Yeah.
And her lawyer who's sitting next to her is like, no, we're going to do a loop because we haven't agreed on this.
Yeah.
To the point where they're agreeing on how many times a week they're going to have sex with each other.
Oh, yeah.
For it to be like a void of their relationship. So it's like all of this is, and like his dad, he's like along with his dad, like, haha, like you're sick, like, and he keeps confusing with his 6th and 7th.
Yeah. And
you're taking that into the guy who's supposed to be the main character who's like, I'm going to confess my love to this woman I met.
Yeah,
like,
I do think that it's that, like, I like that they had the father have those characteristics because it's a good way of, like, explaining, actually, this is what this guy's frame of reference is.
Yeah.
As, like, this is why he is how he is. And he's all about rules and having rules for dating and not having dates 2 nights in a row and waiting an hour before he calls them if they give him a day before he calls them if they give him their number and all these. He's just very much regimented himself and thinks that it's working for him. I will say I love his friend group because there's like one guy in his friend group who is his dad's divorce/prenup lawyer. But also because he's a divorce lawyer has this very cynical outlook and is also just sleeping with women and going on having very casual relationships. But the rest of the friend group are actually much more stable and are like urging him to like actually realize what he's got. To the point that actually, I will say the one thing that Tom has going for him over Julianne in My Best Friend's Wedding is that he realizes that actually he's in love with Hannah and wants to settle down and stop doing this dating thing before he finds out she's engaged. Whereas Julianne is like gut instinct.
Yeah, gotta ruin his life.
Yeah, as soon as he tells her that he's engaged, she's like, well, I gotta go there and I gotta break up this wedding. I've only got 4 days. To the point that she confesses it to George, her other best friend, slightly later in the movie, that she says like, actually it started as just an instinctual, like, he's mine.
Yeah.
Get your hands off him. And then as she's been there with him and spending more time with him, she's realized, oh, I actually love this guy.
Yeah.
It just took all this to happen for her to realize it. Whereas for Tom, it was the fact that he was separated from Hannah, that she went for 6 weeks to Scotland, and that he was like, oh my God. Because in his mind, he had the perfect balance that, like, he was sleeping with whoever he wanted, but then knew he had this stable relationship with this woman that he could, like, they were doing everything together. So that when she went away, he tried to actually date the women he's been sleeping with, and found out that he hated all of them, and that none of them lived up to actually what he's been doing with her, and is like, what an idiot I've been that I haven't seen this.
The other thing about these characters in all of these movies, other than the fact that, like, the people they're marrying, the other person they're trying to woo back is marrying somebody extremely rich.
Yeah.
There's never a question of affordability, and I know it takes you out of the movie, but like, he's wealthy because he invented coffee collars.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I
what
guess.
A weird thing to put into your movie.
And everybody else in my best friend's wedding seems to be writers, so therefore they only write things that I guess published in magazines, and therefore they have no like.
Well, Michael describes himself as penniless, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
And he's marrying into wealth, and then there's and she's trying to put the doubt in each other's minds that he's a gold digger.
Because he's a sports writer, right?
Yeah, he's a sports writer.
Yeah.
And she's a food critic, and your first introduction to her is a very good example of the like show not tell.
Yeah.
But then they immediately do the opposite, because the first introduction to her is this restaurant being so nervous and cautious with preparing this food for her. So she's instantly that she's a big deal and that her writing matters. Yeah. And is like, she's known on site who she is. But then she does the thing where she gets the phone call from Michael, and then she just tells George about their whole relationship and how they're friends and why they've been friends and blah 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 blah, and the pact that they made that if they're both single by 28, which is such a weird number for it to be, they'll get married to each other. Whereas in Maid of Honor, it starts with them meeting and how they met, and then you fast forward to them 10 years later, and it's not so much telling you about that relationship, but showing you how comfortable they are together and the routines they have together, which I thought maybe is a better way to do it.
That whole opening sequence is so funny to me because it super dates the movie. But it's just the fact that Tom is dressed like Bill Clinton. Yeah. And the entire party is just filled with women dressed as Monica Lewinsky. Yeah. It's so true.
Well, that's the thing, because it's supposed to be when they were in college, it was 10 years before the movie, so it's supposed to be 1998.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just so funny to me because, like, it's such a date. One dates the movie, and it's also still something that people know about even to this day and age. It's not it's not like you have to explain Watergate to some, you may have to explain Watergate a little bit more to somebody our age who isn't up to, sort of presidential history, but then like older generations would be like, oh yeah, this is this entire thing that happened, caused 9/11.
Well, there's definitely Gen Z people who have no idea anything.
There's Gen Z people out there who have no idea about anything.
Full stop. No, I was going to say who've never heard of Monica Lewinsky is what I was going to say.
Because of, and I'm not blaming it on them, I'm blaming it on COVID, but yeah.
I have seen an interaction online where there was Gen Z people who had never heard of 9/11. Gen Z Americans, let me specify, who had never heard of 9/11, which is crazy to me. But that's fine. As a non-American who knows a lot about it.
Yeah, but in saying that though, like, there are people out there who just have very different lifestyles, and there was a shocking amount of people that came into the recent election who were confused that Biden wasn't on the list. Even though they're Democratic voters, and these were in states where they were spending like $16 million a day on advertising and stuff, and like basically people were basically contemplating not voting because they couldn't go home because their phones were ringing constantly from telemarketers asking who they were voting for and stuff. Yeah. So like oversaturating the market. But yeah, that whole sequence I found hilarious. These movies are quite like dated to their time, as you said, because you're like, wow, this is such a 2000s movie with like the music choices.
Yeah, the music choices in particular in Maid of Honor are just very 2000s. But they did start that 1998 scene with Smash Mouth. Yeah. So that's very late 90s as well. Yeah. So they knew what they were doing.
Out of these two movies, I think we've already pre-established which one's the least toxic.
Have we?
I would say it's My Best Friend's Wedding.
Okay. I think she is very toxic.
Oh yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like out of the actual story of what happens, yes, she's a toxic person. Yes, she ruins his career, tries to ruin his marriage.
She doesn't actually ruin his career, right?
Yeah,
but
she attempts to.
Yeah. She's horrible. Yeah. I don't think if you're looking just at the main character, Oh no! I mean, like if you're looking if you're looking just at the main character's actions in relation to the person that they're interested in,
Yeah.
I think she's worse than Tom.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the character as a whole, Tom is a very toxic person, partly because of what his father is like. His father seems very loving though to him, but is not a good example.
There's literally a joke at the end of the movie where the woman, I can't remember her name,
the cousin
that
played by Busy Phillips, Michelle,
that he had slept with and then like abandoned, who was like part of the what is it called,
bridal party,
thank you, is trying to sabotage him with the the part that I will never forget, and it's so funny, and I will mention it a little bit later. But even like at the end of the we're now married marriage, he ends up like meeting her and is just like 6, and his lawyer's like 7. This is going to be your 7th divorce and marriage. There's only one part on that note about the dad, there's only one part in this entire movie where Tom and his dad sit down and they actually have a conversation about relationships, about marriage.
Yeah.
That isn't in a toxic way.
Yeah.
And that is when he's talking about the only person that he really had that proper connection with was Tom's mother.
Yeah.
Did she die, or is that not mentioned in the movie? Or is it
it's not mentioned.
I think it's probably just implied.
Yeah. I don't know, was she wife number 1?
Yeah.
Was she...
I'm assuming based on the fact that she's never mentioned...
I don't think she's dead, because I think he says something... He says that he mucked it up and it was too late by the time he realised that it was too late. That's what he said, or something like that, which makes me think she left. Right.
But we've never heard from her ever.
No, I mean, she could have died in the meantime.
That's true. Maybe that's the thing. So my point was making, from the people who eventually get married together, who do you think is the least toxic?
Oh, the people who get married?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kimmy and Michael are...
Yeah.
Kimmy and Michael actually have a pretty solid relationship, especially considering it's supposed to have been that they've only known each other a few months.
Yeah.
The fact... Because here's the thing, is that Julianne is horrible and keeps escalating her attempts to break them up. And
correct.
Is really manipulative towards both of them because they both trust her.
Yeah.
And, like, all of her attempts ultimately fail because Michael and Kimmy genuinely love each other. And you know, to the point that, like, you know, she's trying to, you know, she's telling Michael, oh, obviously, Kimmy, so she drafts an email and it gets sent from Kimmy's dad to Michael's boss, telling him that he wants him to fire him so that he can hire him so that he doesn't take his daughter away, essentially. And then she knows, obviously, that it's not real, but Michael tries to call off the wedding, but then he wants her to mediate between him and Kimmy because he's having doubts about calling it off, whereas in Maid of Honor, she's having doubts about going ahead with the wedding. And so Julianne goes to talk to Kimmy, and you know, and on the one hand, she's talking to Michael and being like, well, yeah, this family want you to marry into them, and then they're going to manipulate you and do all this stuff, and then she's sowing these seeds to make it seem like that's true. But when she talks to Kimmy, then she's saying, like, oh, he's, you know, he obviously doesn't want to be with you, and so he's created this delusion, and so that he can have an excuse to back out of the wedding. And Kimmy immediately says, like, well, if he's created this delusion, it's probably because I said this thing, and so it's my fault. I take full responsibility. I really want to apologize to him because I really love him, and I want this to work. And, you know, and the fact even that she, the whole time, has worried about Julianne's feelings towards Michael, but puts her trust in her anyway because she knows Michael trusts her.
Yeah. Like,
it's very much that she genuinely wants to be with this person and trusts them implicitly, and then, you know, that Michael's only question, so Julianne goes back to him, is like, oh yeah, she takes full responsibility, she said it was all her, blah, 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 blah. And all he wants to know is, like, does she still love me?
Yeah.
Because that's, because they actually care about each other. Whereas in Maid of Honor, I know the couple you're talking about really are Hannah and Tom, because they're the ones who ultimately get married.
Yeah.
But if you look at Hannah and Colin, who she's supposed to be getting married to, it's very much laid out that, and to some extent, Tom is trying to play into this, again, doing the manipulation thing where he's trying to emphasize how long he's known her and how well he knows her versus how little she and Colin know about each other. Yeah. But it comes into play in ways that aren't him manipulating, and it's like that's actually what's happening.
Yeah.
Is like, for example, her and Tom will get cake together, and she'll order something nice, but she always wants the chocolate cake, and he always orders the chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And then she takes some of his cake, and he takes some of hers.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the rehearsal dinner or whatever, the night before the wedding, Colin gets chocolate cake, because she goes to take it, and he's like, no. And then he cuts off, like, a tiny piece for her, and is like, if you want some, this is what you can have. And you see her kind of realize, like, oh, actually, we're not as compatible as I thought we were. And it's the things like the fact that, Tom was ordering vegetarian stuff for her when they were out and about together. And at that meal, it's like, here's some venison. Colin shot it himself. Everything that you're eating today, he killed personally. And she's like, oh.
Also, here's the video.
Yeah, here's the video of the deer being killed.
Yeah,
and I don't think she is vegetarian, but I don't think she's into hunting and stuff like that. And she definitely is off-put by it. And I think she does, and it comes back in a good way in the sense that, like, one of the things, and now again, this is Tom being manipulative though, but one of the things Tom does, and he thinks he's being manipulative, but he also is genuinely showing her this, is that when they're talking to the priest, she can't come up with
reasons that she loves him.
Reasons that she loves Colin, or like stories about them together, or like, interesting things, and then he brings up the story of this painter who she saw a painting of, and talks about, like, wanting to find the fact that she wanted to find someone who made her feel the way that painting made her feel, or whatever. And the priest mentions that in the wedding, and you see the look on her face where she's like, oh, I've made the wrong decision here. And then Tom comes in and it's blah, blah, blah.
There's a funny moment because there's several points before the lead up to the wedding day where he's trying to confess and tell her.
Yeah.
One time the cousin at one point the cousin comes in and she's drunk and he's like, no, get off me. And of course she sees this happen. But it's the other time is like when she's like trying to write her vows.
Yeah, and he
comes
just tells
and says
her
the most like hallmarky shit. And she's like, no, that's tacky. That's like too. And he's like,
and then he like says something more heartfelt.
Yeah.
And I did think they were going to play that off as her being like, oh, that's good. But you actually do see her go like, oh shit. Like, you can see her realize that, wait, is he actually saying this to me? But then they're interrupted. So I think she's more onto things than she makes out. Whereas in My Best Friend's Wedding, I don't think Michael has any idea that Julianne is into him. It's like, until she kisses him the day before his wedding, or the day of his wedding.
The other thing about her is every time she doesn't get her way, she just acts very self-destructively.
Yes.
I think my favourite scene of this is when she gets kicked out of the hotel room and she's smoking in the hallway, and you get this weird Paul Giamatti cameo where he's like working in the hotel and tells her it's sorry, you can't smoke in here because it's a non-smoking floor. Yeah,
because she says she wanted to smoke and it's a non-smoking room, and that's why she's in the corridor. And he's like, well, it's actually a non-smoking floor.
Yeah. And then she's just like, do you smoke? And then they share this like moment together, and then he opens the door, and because she's leaning on it, she just like falls back into the room. And he's all like, I want you to stop smoking because it's stupid.
Yeah.
But it just shows that also, like, when her plans didn't go through earlier in the movie, there's, like, you don't see it, but you see, like, the leftover evidence of her, like, binge and crash in the hotel room where she's kind of like completely destroyed the minibar, and there was just like chocolate wrappers and alcohol like everywhere in the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, like despite being like, because I find that like Julia Roberts always for a long time sort of played this like a very similar character, very like romantic comedy, romance movies, and like most people push to shove if you had to like sit there on a pub quiz, name 5 romantic comedies that she's in, most people would get it, even if you're not a huge romantic comedy fan. I was going to say
one of the others that she's very well famous for is called The Runaway Bride. So it's funny that she did these like wedding movies.
And it's all of the played out stuff, like the tropes are all there, like, and I wonder if The Graduate is the first that ever did this. Like, I genuinely wonder if that was like the first like successful steal the bride at the altar kind of story that's super famous. Like, it probably like throughout history it probably happened, or otherwise there wouldn't be that standard call that we all hear in a movie, which is like, does anybody have a reason why these two shouldn't be married? Speak up or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, because I'm not a thing that happens.
No, but like always in movies, and then people like burst in and...
I think I've seen at least one movie where someone is like, oh, I've got to wait for them to say this line, and then they don't say that line. Yeah. They're like, oh no, I thought it. Oh, it's Shrek.
Yeah.
It's literally in Shrek. I was like, where does that happen? It's Donkey is like, he was like, no, you got to wait until like the exact line, and he's like trying to listen. He's like, oh, I think we might have already missed it. And Shrek's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Because what's the other one that Wayne's World plays up this trope? Shrek, obviously, as you mentioned. There are so many examples of it that, like, they're all blending together in my brain.
Yeah, it's definitely something that happens a lot.
Yeah. It's very, very... Like, this whole trio thing has been played out, and I just find that it's very funny that you've picked these as our why can't I think of the word? I was going to say Arbor Day. It's not. It's Valentine's Day. I know there was a V in there somewhere. Episode, because it's, like 2 examples of not healthy relationships.
I think, here's the thing. As someone who likes rom-coms, I think rom-coms as a whole are unhealthy relationships.
My favourite is like when someone breaks down like the Titanic as a movie.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, oh, this is just a lady reminiscing about the time a homeless guy and her like ruined her wedding and then she killed him. Also, she's had the jewel on her the entire time, the thing they're trying to find for this entire reason why the crew's doing this is because they're trying to find this priceless artifact that she's had on her the entire time. Very, very weird. Anyway, that's how you got to get it.
There are so many movies under the TV tropes of wedding smashers.
Have you got any other famous examples for me?
I don't know, because it was. I don't know if it's quite
The Simpsons.
Wedding smashers. I don't know if it was quite what we were looking at. Were you looking at live action films?
Yeah.
Talked about Beetlejuice because the sandworm comes up.
Oh, that's true.
That's not quite the same thing. I don't think it's like stealing. Is that? Hang on, maybe it's a trope for stealing the bride. No, I don't know.
There's a lot of weird superstitions about marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my favorite guy. Because we have literally not talked about him yet.
Okay.
The number one reason I think... also the fact that she doesn't end up with Michael at the end, that I think that's important for My Best Friend's Wedding working, is that, like, she doesn't successfully steal the groom.
Yeah.
But the number one reason I think this movie works and that I think it's so good is Rupert Everett.
Yeah, that's true.
As he's her editor, George. He's in the very first scene with her. He's eating the same meal as she is when she's doing her review for this restaurant. He Yeah, so he's her editor, he's gay, he's basically become her best friend by proxy because she's living away because Michael's living in Chicago, she's living in New York.
Yep.
They haven't talked in a few months. And she calls him and leaves him a voice message. Also, every time she calls him, there's like a group of people listening in on the call, which I think is very funny. But she calls him the time she's having the binge drinking and chocolate eating moment that Nick mentioned, which was after she got Kimmy to sing karaoke at a karaoke bar because Kimmy told her she hates karaoke and can't sing, and then people actually like applauded her, and she got upset that happened.
Of course.
And she leaves him this voicemail where she's talking about she's trying to do this and that, and she's all angry. And he shows up at her hotel room. He flies himself to Chicago to meet her, and then just kind of like talks it out with her. He's really good at listening to her. Also, really pays attention. Like he's an actually good friend. And then he goes with her, and I think I wrote it down as her emotional support, George.
Yeah.
To Michael's suit fitting, and she's supposed to go up and confess to Michael that she's in love with him, and she even asks George, like, oh no, I think that's afterwards. She asks George what's going to happen if I confess, and he's like, he's going to choose Kimmy. You're going to stand with him at the altar, and you're going to support him, and then you're going to move on. Which is what happens. But yeah, so he goes with her, and then she panics and tells Michael that she and George are engaged. And then he goes along with it, but in the absolute most chaotic little piece of shit way possible. And to the point that she's like, undersell it, and he's like, hi, I'm the fiance. And he's so good, and he gets everyone singing at a lunch together and all this stuff, and very, very funny. And then he makes the ending work.
Yeah.
Because she is she at the end she gets them back together and they do get married, and they go off, and she has a hug with Michael before they leave, and then she's just sitting alone at the table being kind of mopey.
Yeah.
And she's done the right thing for once, but she still feels shitty about all the crap she's done, but also about the fact that she's kind of brokenhearted. And George has shown up at the wedding, and he calls her as if he's in New York and she's in Chicago, and he's like, oh yeah, I can just picture you there, in your lavender dress, and you're sitting at a table all alone, and you're drumming your fingers, and now you're looking at your nails, and she's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I didn't tell you my dress was lavender.
And he actually has shown up and gets them to put on the song that he sang, and then dances with her, and it's really nice. And I do want to get into trivia just very briefly at this point.
Oh, just jump in.
No, I don't want to go through the whole trivia,
right.
But just that was not the original ending of the movie.
Oh.
They had filmed an entirely different ending, which was that at the end, after the wedding reception, at the wedding reception, when Michael and Kimmy leave, she meets someone else who's attending the wedding, and it's supposed to be this is the start of her love story with this guy.
Right. And
when they showed it to test audiences, unanimously people were like, we hate the ending and we want more George. So they had to bring in Rupert Everett and just film a whole new ending, and I think it makes it. Because it takes away to some extent the men and women can't be friends, because George is actually genuinely a really good friend to her. And even, at the end, she becomes a good friend to Michael again.
Yeah.
She just has, a few days of insanity. But, it ties it together to be you know what? She doesn't need this relationship that she built in her head, because it never existed. She didn't need that relationship to be happy. She still has people who support her and love her, and she's gonna be fine, and it's a nice kind of fun ending to it. But I just think Rupert Everett makes the movie. I think he's the best thing in it.
Fair enough.
Both in terms of performances and in terms of the writing and characterization of George. He's great.
So I've just come up with some trivia that's happened in my head while looking through Juliet Roberts' filmography.
Oh yeah.
So this movie came out in 1997.
Yep.
She did the exact same thing in Hook in 91.
She did what in Hook? Oh, that she tries to break up.
She tries to break up Peter Pan as Tinkerbell because Tinkerbell's obsessed with Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And I was just like, in my mind, I'm like, was she typecast of the manic pixie dream girl who's going to steal your husband?
Yeah.
Or your fiance?
But again, in that, she lets him go as well.
Yeah, it's true. I was just looking through it and I was like, wait, Hook, Tinkerbell. She wasn't Hook.
Yeah.
Hang on, she does the exact same thing in Hook.
Yeah, I think it ultimately works. Though I don't understand how Michael forgives her. Especially for the email.
Yeah.
Because she basically tries to not only ruin she's in with that one email, and I get that her intention was not for it to get sent.
Yeah, because she has like this big like moment of not quite, like angel and devil on her shoulder, but she is like talking herself through the problem.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite helpful when you are facing issues and moral dilemmas, is actually talk it out loud.
And it's the fact that she goes like, this could get him fired.
Yeah.
But then she doesn't want to delete it, and then she's like, well, I could just bring him up here and show it to him.
Yeah.
Just have to orchestrate for him to see it. But it gets sent, and essentially like the end outcome of that is actually fine. I don't know how he explains it to his boss.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, what could have happened there is, A, he could have been fired if the boss went, okay, the owner of the White Sox wants me to fire this guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on the wrong side of that guy. And instead, the boss sends him a fax being like, hey, I want you to know what you're marrying into. Which, like, great supportive boss.
Yeah.
It could have ended the relationship. It could have ruptured, if Kimmy believed it was real, it could have ruptured the relationship between Kimmy and her father.
Yeah.
It also could have ruptured the relationship between her father as a business owner and the owner of this baseball team and the organization that Michael writes for. Like, that's, this thing could have spiraled massively out of control. And then when she confesses that she did it, he is, upset, understandably upset, but then he's just like, oh, thank you for loving me so much. And it's like, Michael, that's not the right response to this.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're fucking crazy. Get away from me and my fiance, and I don't want you in my life anymore. Because, like, that's insane. That's, like, above, like, weird stalker level of response to him getting married, you know? Because all the little vindictive, manipulative things that she does are shitty enough on their own, but, like, that could have had such serious consequences, and for multiple people.
Because the other worst part is that, like, she could have, like, as you said, she could have, one, gotten away with that part.
Yeah.
Two, he could have left Kimmy.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Like, she just has to hide the fact that she, one, ruined the relationship where she was engaged to, and secondly, also ruined his career, probably permanently.
Yeah.
Because, like, you need your previous job to get as a reference for your next job.
Yeah.
Like, very few jobs take you on without references.
I mean, he can do freelance writing. He's a writer. But he's already not making a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have, in Maid of Honor, Tom starts out, his original plan is we'll find some dirt on Colin and we'll show it to her and then she'll hate him. And then they're just like, no, this guy's got no dirt on him. And he's like, okay, switch tactics. Instead of, like, making some shit up Julianne would, he's like, okay, I just have to show her that actually I am responsible and mature more so than she thinks I am, and, like, I have gotten better at this kind of stuff. And then his friends, I love his friends, and this is, like, his George, essentially, is this group of guys, and particularly one of his friends, I think his name is Felix, who is married and has kids or whatever, and he said his wife is a type A personality. He said sometimes it's annoying, but it does mean that when she was made maid of honor for one of her friends' weddings or her sister's weddings or whatever, she got this like DVD of how to be the best maid of honor.
Yeah.
So they all bring him over like magazines that have articles on how to be a good maid of honor, and they get him this video to watch, and then he's like trying, quoting it to her and like being like, a great maid of honor is with his bride every step of the way and all this stuff, and really he's just going out of his way to impress her in terms of being like, hey, look, you gave me this responsibility, I'm stepping up and I'm doing, you gave me this responsibility, and even at first he tries to do it well but doesn't go out of his way, but he does get his friends to like help make gift baskets for her bridal shower, which is cute. But like when the thing that you wanted to talk about, I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, go on.
Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, essentially the cousin who's trying to sabotage him gave him the details of a person who she said
was like a psychic.
Was a psychic who does tarot card readings and was at a wedding or another bridal shower that Hannah was at and enjoyed. And it turns out Hannah has no idea who this person is, and in fact she is selling sex toys.
Yeah.
And sells some thunder beads, I believe they're called. Glow-in-the-dark thunder beads to her Nana.
Yeah, and the Nana's wearing them as a necklace for like the majority of the rest of the movie, and it's just every sequence is so funny. Because you pointed out, because she said, like, they're in the dark, and her necklace is glowing.
Yeah.
And the priest leans over and is just like, I love your necklace. And she's like, yes, they're glow-in-the-dark thunder beads.
And the priest just, like,
recoils away.
Yeah.
And you said out loud while we were watching the movies, how does a priest know what those are?
But anyway, at that moment, she's like, hey, I've been dreaming about my bridal shower and my wedding since I was a little girl. Yeah. Like, I want this to be perfect. And that's when he's like, oh, I need to step it up. Yeah. And then his friends help him out. And he is like, his main goal, which I think is the reasonable goal, is rather than what Julianne is doing, which is make these people hate each other, his main goal is make her see, I've changed, I've matured, I can take on this responsibility. She's shown me how important it is to her. She's shown me, all this stuff. I need to be responsible and make this perfect for her.
Yeah.
And then that does work in the end, because he doesn't ever, after that point, he doesn't really ever undermine the other guy. He does, like, again, as I mentioned, he tries to, like, emphasize how great it is to have a connection with someone for a long time and know them really well, and, but he's not actually, like, undermining him to any degree, really, and a lot of the stuff that Hannah ends up being uncomfortable with has nothing to do with Tom or what he's doing. It's actual stuff from, like, the traditions, that she didn't know she was buying into, like wearing the tartan and doing her hair a certain way and all this stuff that, the royal family are wanting to do for her in Scotland. And it's all like, this is tradition, and she's like, oh, you just see her realize this, she didn't understand what she was signing up for, essentially. So I think I don't know that Tom crashing the wedding and them kissing and then them going and getting married was necessarily the best outcome of that situation.
Yeah.
But I also don't think her marrying Colin would have been a good outcome. Whereas I do think Michael and Kimmy marrying each other was the right ending for My Best Friend's Wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think ultimate best ending of Maid of Honor is that Tom doesn't get to the wedding on time, but when he gets there, the wedding hasn't happened because she called it quits at the altar. She said, actually, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been the best ending for that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't think her and Colin should have got married.
That's true.
And then maybe her and Tom could have started dating.
Yeah.
Gone like, let's look at our friendship in a different way and start.
Because he gets to this remote church via horseback.
Yes.
And I think we did talk about this while it happened on screen. It would have been really funny. Obviously, the movie, romantic comedy, but like, he is launched through the door by the horse.
Yeah.
And he hits old school, like, double doors and like face plants on concrete stone, like on stone.
You thought he died.
It'd be so funny if he was dead. Like, I know it ruins the movie, but it would, or like, if he was seriously injured,
Yeah.
and that's like the moment he confesses was like in the ambulance that's evacuating him.
Yeah, actually, that would have been a funny.
Yeah, just like, because that's more into the comedy point of view.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, there's a guy, and he's just like.
That's very slapstick, though.
Yeah,
I don't think it was trying to be slapstick.
But
yeah,
just like the fact that he's dead.
Yeah. I think the best outcome would have been. Like, because he's missed the ferry and he's rushing to get to the wedding and he's going around the whole lake on horseback.
Because we were talking about how the hell he knew.
I don't know how he knew how to ride a horse.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think the best ending for that would have been that he got to the church and people were coming up being like, oh, you've missed it, it's over. And he's like, oh no, they're married. And then it turns out that she left Colin at the altar.
Yeah.
I think that's how.
And then they get on a bus and then they stare blankly.
yeah. No, but I think it should have been that because you could see her thinking about it throughout the second half of the movie. So I think it would have been better if she just decided of her own accord, actually, I don't want to go ahead with this.
Yeah.
Rather than it be, oh, he shows up and actually I'm going to go with him. You know? But that's just me.
Yeah, actually, you're right. The better ending for this movie is he crashes into the church. She's not there. Everyone's pissed at him, and he has no idea why.
Yeah.
And then he gets punched in the face by Colin, because that's what happens. Probably 2 concussions, because that guy threw a caber, like, really, really, really far.
Yeah.
2 concussions in one sitting, which is how you end up with degenerative brain disorders as you're older. See NFL players. That would have, you're right. That would have been a better ending, because then like she's like, no, I'm leaving, and then he's like, I'm here to stop your wedding from happening because I love you.
Like the wedding's already stopped.
And then you get a flashback that says like, no, I'm sorry, I can't marry you. I'm not in love with you. I'm in love with Tom. And then
but even if she doesn't say she's in love with Tom, I don't think she would have gone ahead with the wedding either way. I think that it would have been more empowering to her if she had decided, or if she's like already on her way out of the church when he came in or something.
Then they get on the horse and they stare blankly because the director has a gun.
Or it's funny, or like it's like it just missed, like she's gone out the back of the church and then he gets launched through and then she comes around and she's like, oh, a horse, and takes it and rides off by herself.
Yeah.
We could write this movie.
Yeah.
Let's do a remake.
There are several in different languages.
I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge Tom and Hannah for ending up together.
Yeah.
I think that was much more natural and more likely to happen than Michael and Julianne ending up together. And I don't think that Hannah and Colin were a good match.
No.
I think that was very much a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Like, he saved her and all this stuff, and then suddenly the reality of it sets in, and she's like, oh, why did I decide to marry this guy, like, so soon after meeting him?
It's also, like as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, his entire life is crazy. Like Colin's is.
There's even, like, when the heart-to-heart that Tom and his dad are having, they're drinking whiskey, and he's like, oh, this is good whiskey, and he's like, oh, thanks, Colin sent it. He made it himself.
Yeah. Do you want to move into some trivia now?
Yeah, we can. I don't have a lot, to be fair. I will say one of the things I did look up and take down is the ages of the actors when the filming was happening about these movies.
Yeah.
Because age is important in both of these. So in My Best Friend's Wedding, the pact that Michael and Julianne had was if they were both still unmarried by the time they were 28, they would marry each other. And then George says, aren't you turning 28 in 3 weeks? So she's supposed to be 27, and then she's like, yeah, and then he's like, how old is Michael? So the implication is that Michael has already turned 28, and she's about to turn 28. So I was looking them up. Julia Roberts was 28 when filming.
Right.
So, accurate. And Dermot Mulroney was 32, so slightly older, but like, believably late 20s. Cameron Diaz is supposed to be 20. And she was 23, turned 24 during filming. So again, not like wildly off. Michelle Monaghan as Hannah in Maid of Honor. They don't specify her age, but at one point they say she's pushing 30.
Yeah, because she's supposed to be like a junior, like a sophomore, and he's supposed to be a senior when they meet each other.
Yeah, right? When they meet each other. Yeah, I think maybe she was supposed to be a freshman.
Yeah.
Freshman or sophomore. Anyway, she's first or second year in college, and he's in his, I guess, fourth year of college. So it's supposed to be about a 3-year age gap.
Yeah.
And I think she's supposed to be about 28, 29, based on them saying she's pushing 30.
Yeah.
Because it's his friend says to him, you know, because when Tom is saying, like, he's got the perfect setup because he can sleep with all these women, but then, you know, hang out with Hannah.
Yeah.
And one of his friends is like, well, that's not a great deal for her. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, she's pushing 30. Do you think that her dream for the rest of her life is that she's single but hangs out with you during the day after who you slept with someone else?
Yeah.
So my thought is she's 28, 29. Michelle Monaghan was 31 when filming, so again, pretty close. Patrick Dempsey, supposedly, you know, as Tom's supposed to be about 3 years older than her, so about 31 or 32, was 41.
Oh.
Because I was looking, when I did the cast of My Best Friend's Wedding first, and I was like, oh, people just did look older in the, the 90s. Because I was like, none of the people in these movies look like they're actually the age they're supposed to be. I did think it was funny that they use, in the, like, college scenes of Tom and Hannah, they used, like, CGI to make Patrick Dempsey's face look younger.
Yeah.
But did nothing to Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah.
It's like, she could just pass as 19 or 29, I guess.
It is low lighting as well, so there is some, like...
Actually pretty youthful.
Yeah. There is some techniques you can use in filmmaking to make people look...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they did use CGI on Patrick Dempsey to make him look younger. Which makes more sense if you have a 41-year-old playing a 22-year-old than a 31-year-old playing a 19-year-old. But yeah, so my thought was like, they do actually, people did just look older in the 90s.
Yeah.
But for Maid of Honor, Patrick Dempsey just was older, playing younger.
Yeah. It's, there's a lot of reasons that you could have gotten away with it as well, with the fact that she basically maces him while he's dressed like Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
So you could have just been like, his face is all puffy, and you could have just like put like like quite emphasized makeup on him to also hide his age, but yeah.
The scene where they go looking at plates and like crockery, which they do in both movies.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, I guess this is just like a wedding thing. Shit, I haven't. The
economies were better in the time, okay?
Yeah, they added in the bit where he juggles the plates because Patrick Dempsey could just do that.
Yeah.
He apparently used to work as a street performer.
Right.
And learned how to juggle plates while working as a street performer. So they just wrote that in so that he could do that, which was kind of fun. This was Sidney Pollack's final acting role, so the movie's dedicated in his memory. He plays Tom's dad. Also, the filming schedule was only 26 days, which was to accommodate Patrick Dempsey's commitments to Grey's Anatomy. And also, Patrick Dempsey was part of the project of Maid of Honor before the director was even chosen, because Paul Weiland, who I think wrote it, had seen an early cut of a coming-of-age film that he was in and was like, I want that guy in this movie.
Cool.
For My Best Friend's Wedding, Julia Roberts was attached to the project from very early on, and she handpicked both Dermot Mulroney and Cameron Diaz to be her co-stars.
As you do.
Yeah. The director, PJ Hogan, had wanted Russell Crowe to play Michael.
Okay.
And they did a table read.
Right.
And the table read between Russell Crowe and Julia Roberts was so bad that they just were like, no, sorry. Thanks, but no thanks, Russell Crowe. Get out of here. And I've already mentioned what the original ending was. I think they made the right choice in not having. I don't think she needed to end up with a man at the end. I don't think it needed to be like, oh, she's instantly over him and here's the guy she's going to spend the rest of her life with. That's stupid. Whereas the ending where she's kind of like, oh, I guess I'm back to being alone now, and I, at least I'm still friends with him, but I'm kind of heartbroken by this, and then George has come back to Chicago to cheer her up, is very sweet. I just think George is great. Just like Rupert Everett is so good. The best characters in this are George in My Best Friend's Wedding and Felix in, in Maid of Honor. They're like the friends who are like, okay, this is what you want to do, here's how I'm going to support you. And they do it in different ways, because obviously Felix in Maid of Honor is like, all right, what we're going to do is you're going to be really great as Maid of Honor, and that's going to show her that you're responsible, so here's how you learn to do that. In My Best Friend's Wedding, George is like, you do need to tell him how you feel, but also you need to accept that he's going to choose Kimmy, and that's the right decision, and you need to then move on and come home. And then he's there for her to catch her when that happens.
Again, I had perfect setup for everything else you said. If you want to support us the way that George supported her, please share this episode with somebody you know who may have a good relationship with these types of movies, because most of them I don't find healthy. Anyway, thank you for...
It's so fun though. Did you have fun watching these movies?
Yeah, they are fun.
Yeah.
But like, if you were like learning human relationships based on
romantic
comedies,
bad idea. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. Go to our website, ittakes2.co.nz, to find our where you can listen to us, where you can send friends, where to start for them. And our social media as well. We've enjoyed having you along for this ride, and we hope you join us again next time.
All right, thank you. I was sorry, my hesitation was there because I automatically was going to go Kakitiano, and then I was like, wait, that's not how I end the podcast. I don't just randomly speak to Reo Maori at the end of the podcast every time. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.